Okay, I think we should start. We're going to start now. Last class, we were looking at limiting factor decisions, yeah? And we're going to continue with that today as well. Okay? Before we continue with limiting factor today, I just want us to have a quick recap. Okay, quick recap. We defined limiting factor last class. When you talk about limiting factor, what are you talking about? And how us as accountants use this concept to advise management. Okay, so we're going to recap on that. So can someone just take us through quickly, please? Karamo, you are in last class, isn't it? Can you tell us what you know about limiting factor before we continue? Karamo, are you with us?
Hello, yes, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, afternoon, Karamo.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Karamo.
Yeah, hello. What I understand from limiting factor is like before preparation of the course, we try to rank our priorities of how to cost our products. That's okay. That ranking has some steps, like we have step 1, 2, 3, up to 5 that we did. And this also has to do with knowing your the capacity you can produce, a company can produce based on the power available for the company to produce that that product. So from there, that's what we did, and we try to see what is our capacity to produce, and the balance we try to decide whether we are going to purchase or we make. That's what I understand.
Okay, that's good. Do anyone want to add something to it? Okay, Fatu Seka, what's your understanding of limiting factor? Fatu? Danso, you were in class last. You were in last class, Danso. Can you tell us, please?
Yes, I was in the class last time.
So, what is limiting factor in a nutshell? If somebody has come to you and say, "Okay, I've had this accounting term, limiting factor," but what are you talking about? What is limiting factor? Can you tell us what limiting factor is? I think that's the starting point.
It means factors that restrict you from getting to a certain point, or factors that constrain you from.
I don't want you to use. I don't want you to use factor to define factor. So use another word. So what is a limiting factor?
Okay, these are things, conditions, situations, or dilemmas that restrict a person or a decision based on situations that you cannot influence directly.
Okay. Okay. Ibrahim Jete, you want to try? What is a limiting factor?
Yeah, I'm in a vehicle right now. I'm just come from school right now.
Okay, and I thought you cannot talk.
Okay, Mr. Warner, I want
Yes.
to try. Can I try, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think limiting factor talks about mostly the capacity of a plant, let's say a producing plant, a manufacturing company. Sometimes at some point your machinery are able to produce only a certain amount, and maybe an order is in place for something more than that, and thus you are limited to producing only what you can produce. So the excess can be decided to be bought from elsewhere to supplement what you can produce so that the order from the customer will be met.
Okay, so can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I mean, like limiting factor, like Karamo said, is a various list, but among them is mostly when it has to do with capacity. Let's say I have a power manufacturing farm, but let's say my machinery can only produce a certain amount of units. So when I reach that units, I can't produce anymore. So then, and I had an order that is more than what I can produce. Maybe not to make the customer understand that I have a limited capacity. I might take the order and then produce what I can produce, and then the remaining can be bought from outside.
Okay, correct. So that's one example of limiting factor. That's a limiting factor whereby you're dealing with machine capacity. Okay, correct. That's a good one. Okay, but I just want someone to give me a proper definition of limiting factor that will encompass everything. Okay, so when we're talking about limiting factor, of course, we're... Yeah, sorry, Yusuf. Yes, go ahead, Yusuf.
Is anything that restrict an organization to be able to maximize its sales based on demand or availability of production resources.
Okay. I think that wraps it up. That's a good one. So it is anything that prevents an organization, okay? Anything that prevents an organization from achieving its sales targets. Because for an organization, our main objective is to maximize profits. Okay? In order to maximize profits, we definitely require to produce and to sell those products. So anything, okay, that prevents a company from achieving its production and sales capacity. Okay, that's a limiting factor. So it could be material. We may have inadequate materials or a particular type of material. We may have inadequate labor hours or a particular skilled labor hour. Okay, and of course it might relate to other how to call it other stuff like capital and stuff like that. Okay, so anything that prevents you from achieving what you want to achieve. Okay, at personal level, I gave you an example the last time. If you want to go to university to pursue a BSc in accounting, for example, but then unfortunately you don't have money to pay the fees. You may get your required results and stuff like that, but then you couldn't have sponsor to sponsor you. Okay, so this is the problem. Okay, so limiting factor is anything that prevents you from achieving what you're supposed to. Okay, so now we're going to look at the last part of limiting factor we're going to do, and that will be a question. That will be a question that will have a mixture of limiting factor and a make or buy decision. Limiting factor and a make or buy decision. Okay, is that clear, everybody? What's the noise about? What's the noise about? Hello? Hello? Idrissa, you wanted to say something? Okay, let's proceed. So we're going to look at limiting factor. We're going to look at a question that has got a mixture of limiting factor with make or buy decision. Like I said to you the other day, that accounting for short-term decision making is a lot easier compared to a lot of topics, and as such, when they come in when they are bringing them in exams, they don't bring a topic in isolation. So they usually mix topics, and in our exams, it won't be an exemption. So we will do any question you expect will have to have a mixture of various topics. Okay, so if you mix limiting factor with make or buy decision, it gives a very good taste. Okay? All right. So we're going to look at a question called W, X, Y, and Z. So let me project it so that you can see it. Okay. So I just project it. Okay, right. So this is the question. So as always, can you please screenshot it? Can you please screenshot it so that we could make a reference to it easily? Okay, Karamo, can you please screenshot it and send it to the forum? Okay. Karamo? Hello, Karamo?
Yes, sir. Today I'm working. I'm attending class at office, so I'm not using my phone. I don't think I'll be able to screenshot it.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. That's okay. If anyone can you do that so that you can share with us? Okay, so let me read it. It says W, X, Y, and Z Limited makes for products W, X, Y, and Z. For which costs and sales in the next year are expected to be as follows. Sales units, 2,000, 4,000, 3,000, and 1,000. Direct material cost, direct labor, sales price, contribution. Okay, as we can see here. The company is having difficulty of obtaining the materials. Each product uses the same material, and only one type of material is used in manufacture. The expected available materials next year are 11,000 kilos. The material costs £5 per kilo. An overseas manufacturer is willing to supply the items to the company at the following costs per unit, including delivery, cost to buy 2011, and so on. Required, which items should the company make internally and which should it buy from the external manufacturer? If you see a question like this, always note that this question entails some knowledge of make or buy decision and some knowledge of limiting factor, okay? So they are mixed together. Right, so when you look at the middle paragraph, it says that the company is having difficulty of obtaining what? The company is having difficulty of obtaining what?
The materials.
Material. And what does that tell you? What does that tell you?
Direct material.
Hmm?
Direct material.
Yes, I know direct material, but what signal is
There
that?
is a limited factor.
There is a limiting factor. There is a problem with material. We will not be able to achieve our production objectives because we will have shortage in material. That's what it means. Okay, that's what it means. So that's why it says each product uses the same material and only one type of material is used in manufacture. The expected available material next year is 11,000 kilos. So material that is expected to be available is only 11,000 kilos. So what is the first steps that we should do from the previous questions we answered? What is the first step that we should do?
We want to know are the materials are limited or?
Yes. So first we are going to check, even though we have been told, that material is a problem, but we still need to check whether in actual sense materials are in short supply, and if that is the case, how much is available, how much is required, what is the shortfall. Okay, so this is the first thing we should do. Okay, just as we stipulated in our steps that we followed when we are answering nil limited question. Okay, so now we're going to turn to our spreadsheet. Okay, I'm going to present my spreadsheet. Right, so we're going to open a new worksheet. Same way, we click the plus sign, that's the add sheet. A new worksheet will be added for us. We double click on it and we're going to name it example 7. So I just call it EG7. Okay, I just call it EG7 and I'm going to expand. I'm going to zoom it to 150 so that you can be able to see clearly. Okay, right. So I will start answering the question from B2. So I will leave the whole of A, the whole of column A, and the whole of row 1 as my margins. And I'm just going to reduce this a bit. This is just to, give a good format to your answer. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to start with will be the name of the company. So the name of the company is W, X, Y, and Z. W, X, Y, and Z Limited. Okay, that's the name of the company. And next, what should we do? Next should be what? What should we do next?
Calculate the extent of the limiting factor.
No, before we do any calculation, what should we do? We are trying to do our formatting, isn't it?
Okay, no problem.
So what should we do? We have been required. We have
sales unit first. Oh,
sorry.
We should bring a sales unit first to calculate
No. We have been asked to do a work, so we need to give a name to the work, isn't it? And what's the name of the work? The question says, which items should the company make internally and which items should it buy from an external manufacturer? So we have to do a statement that will give that advice. So it is a statement of make or buy using limiting factor. So I just say statement of make or buy decision using limiting factor. Okay, the statement of make or buy using limiting factor. Good. So now after doing that, what next should we do, please? I told you a lot of students fail exams not because they are not intelligent, but because they don't have proper answer planning. It's very, very, very important to plan your answer. Very important. Okay? Because if you don't plan your answer, what's going to happen? It's like if you have not done this formatting, you can start answering, and then you choke somewhere. Now you kind of completely mixed. The advantage of planning your your answer like this is, even if you have laid out your format like this, if anybody looks at it, the person will be happy. You know, even if you stop there, the person will say, okay, maybe this guy is not able to complete this due to time constraint, but at least he has an idea. Okay, but if you start mixing up everything, I mean, nobody is going to give you marks for that. Okay, so we have to state our products. So the first column naturally will be our details column. So let's expand it a bit. So the first one will be our first product, which is W. We have X, Y, and Z. Okay, these are our products. So by default, all numbers in accounting should be aligned to the right. So I just align them to the right, and at the same time, I will give them a number formatting. Okay? So now we're going to add one more here, which will be our total. So we can just add one more column here, call our total. So we're going to highlight all the columns. Oh, W. X. I didn't put the X there. W, X. Okay, good. W, X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to align the columns to the right. So I highlight everything. Then I go to the horizontal alignment. Then I choose right. Okay, everything will be aligned to the right. Then I will go to format. I use number formatting. I choose financial number formatting. Okay, right. So now we all agreed that the first thing that we should do is to determine the extent of the limiting factor. Okay, so we're going to ask ourselves a question: are materials the limiting factor? I hope you're following.
Yes, yes.
Are materials a limiting factor? Okay. So now that is the question. Now we need to find this out, whether this is the case. So in order to find whether materials are a limiting factor, what should we do? Can we refresh our mind? What should we do? What should we do? We have done this before, haven't we? Basin Salah? Hello, Basin. Batu Drame. Batu? Yusufa, you want to have a go? Yusufa? So
Yes.
Jane, you want to have a go?
Yes, I think we'll first start the sales unit by the material per kilogram per unit. Then we
Okay,
know
so first, just before telling me the procedures, what is the first thing that we should do?
we should first have our sales unit.
No, I know we have to do our sales unit, multiply this, multiply by, but what are we trying to achieve?
To see whether the material is a limiting factor or not.
Yes, that's what we determine. So now, what is
Mr. Fofana,
yes,
we check. We put in the sales unit of the product.
the sales unit of the product. Yes, I know we'll put the sales unit of the product, but what I want you to understand, why are we doing that? The reason why we are trying to do the sales unit, first, we want to calculate the number of kilograms of material that is required to do this forecast sales units. Okay, that's the first step. We find out how many kilos of material are required to produce these sales units. Okay? After determining that, we already know how many kilos of material that are available now. Okay, so we knock that off. Whatever remains will be our balance, and we will definitely know that we have a limiting factor. Okay, let's not waste time on this. So I will go, so we'll start with the units, the sales units. So I just say sales units, because that is, we are assuming here that whatever we're going to produce will be sold. Okay, sales units. So what are the sales units, please?
18 hours.
Sales units?
The sales unit for W is 2,000. Then for X is 4,000.
4,000.
Y 3,000.
3,000.
And Z 1,000.
And Z 1,000. Excellent. Good. So now the materials in kilos that we require is what we're coming to calculate, isn't it? So now we have our sales unit. What next should we do? What next should we do?
We have to determine our material in kilos.
Yes, yes. So what is the next step?
The material in kilo per unit. That's
Yes.
what we're going to take.
What is the next step? We already have got the units. So now what should we do to have our kilograms? Kilograms of material.
We times it to material units.
We times it?
To material units.
Material units.
Yes.
Okay. We times it by material units. And what are the material units we're talking about? Are you talking about the direct materials 10, 5, 7.5, and 12.5? Is that what you're talking about? Hello?
Yeah, but you should divide it by 5 because they say the material cost is 5 pounds per kilo.
So you should divide it by 5.
Yeah, the direct material like 10 divided by 5, 5 divided by 5 for X, and 7.5 divided by 5.
Okay, excellent. Yes. So why are we dividing it by 5? It's simple. The direct materials that are given on our question, 10, 5, 7.5, and 12.5, these are the direct material cost per unit. Okay? So in order to get the direct material cost per unit, you need two things. You need direct material usage per unit multiplied by the cost of that unit. Okay? So we already know the unit price. Okay? Sorry, the price per kilo, that's 5 pounds. Okay? We know the price per kilo, which is 5 pounds. So now if we know the price per kilo is 5 pounds, and then we have 10 pounds as our direct material cost, something must be multiplied by 5 to give you our unit cost. Okay, and that thing that you need to multiply by 5 will be the number of kilos that each product is going to use. Is that clear? Okay, so excellent, good. So materials, so we're going to have materials in kilo, in kg per unit. Materials in kilo per unit. Okay, so we all agreed materials in kilo per unit. In order to determine that, we have to look at our direct material cost per unit divided by our direct material cost per kilo. So that whatever we have will be our number of kilos per unit. Okay, I hope this is clear. Yeah? So can someone give me the formula I need to put on first one, on W?
Please come again. I lost the dog.
Yes. What I'm trying to say is we're going to calculate the materials in kilo per unit. We already know the direct material cost per unit. Okay, we know to get the direct material cost per unit, it is the number of kilos multiplied by the cost per kilo per unit of a product. So we've already got the cost per kilo, but then we don't know how many kilos is required to produce each unit of W, X, Y, and Z. So in order to know that, we must break this direct material cost of 10, 5, 7.5, 12.5. We must break it into its two components. And what are the two components? The direct material in kilo that you will require per unit and the cost of that kilo of material. So we already know the cost, which is 5. To know the number of kilos, we take 10 divided by 5. So the first one should say equals 10, which is the direct material cost per unit, divided by 5 is the price per kilo. Okay, so we have 2. Are we together? Is it making sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So we have 2. And the next one, can someone give me the second one?
The
It's
second
5.
one is going to be 5 divided by 5.
Equals 5 divided by 5. Okay. Why?
7.5 divided by 5.
7.5 divided by 5. Okay. And next one?
12.5 divided by 5.
12.5 divided by 5. Okay. We're going to put the equals there. And you have 2.5. Right. So there is no problem with this. There is no problem with this, but the only problem is it is slow because you have to take 10 divided by 5, 5 divided by 5, 7.5 divided by 5. Okay? The fastest way of doing it is what I'm going to show you, and then also this will give you more chance to use those numbers later on. You don't have to go back and start typing them. Okay? So the direct material cost in kilogram per unit is what we're going to calculate. So the next on the next row, I'm going to put direct material cost per unit. So I say direct material cost per unit. So I use direct material cost per unit. Okay, so we just take them from here, 10, 5, 7.5, 12.5. Okay, so I'm going to do the direct material cost per kg. Direct material cost per kg. So I've just copied that and changed the kg. Right. So the direct cost, the direct material cost per kg, I'm going to put that here under the total column because it belongs to all of them anyway, but we want it to appear only once. And that is 5, isn't it? So now, if we want to find the material in kg per unit, okay, I'm just going to copy this and bring it here. Okay, so this time around. So now, if we're going to do this, what formula can we put here? Okay, we've done it, we calculated it correct, fine, no problem. But I want you to do a better way of doing it so that tomorrow, if there are any changes, you could just change one thing and everything will just flow like that. Okay? So can someone give me the formula that I need to put here to calculate the direct material in kg per unit with the numbers here already? The numbers have been written here already.
We can say equals to.
Equals.
Cell C10.
C10.
Divided by. G11. But you have to make it constant.
And make it constant. How do you make it constant?
By pressing F4.
By pressing F4. Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. Because otherwise, if we don't do that, it's going to be a problem. Let me show you. Before we do that, let me show you what's going to happen if you don't do that. Okay? What's going to happen if you don't make the 5 fixed? Why are we making 5 fixed or why are we making 5 constant? Is because all these products are going to use the same material cost in kg. So there's no point typing it here, typing it here, That's a waste of time. It's only one price. As far as we're concerned, all of them are, how to call it? They're all using the same material. As such, the cost per kg is the same for all the products. So when we are dividing, we should just divide using one cell. Okay? So if we divide without making the cost per kg constant, this is what's going to happen. So we say equals this divided by that, we enter. So if we enter, when we replicate, look at what's going to happen. Okay? The first one will be correct, but look at the others. Look at the others. Why do you think this is happening? Please take note of this. This is very, very, very important in practice. Go and see accountant spreadsheet. Some of them, they will have simple errors like this, and they will have no idea as to how this error come about. Okay? So please take note of this and make use of it in practice. Very, very, very important. So why do you think we are having this hashtag div whatever? For your information, if you do any formula in Excel and it gives you a result starting with hashtag, know that there's an error. Okay? Know that there is an error. There is a problem. So why are we getting this hashtag? Can someone tell me, please?
Because the cell G cells 11G was not it was not in constant. So you did not format it in constant. That's why.
Okay, it was not constant. Okay. So because it's not constant, what is going to happen to the formula here? The formula is going to move. So, and the first one, what did we say? We say take C10 and divide it by G11. Okay. By default, if you go to the next one, okay, you go to the next one. The next one is what? From C10 to D10. If you take D10, then that means you have moved to the right ones. If you don't tell Excel to stop moving, it's also going to move ones to the right. So it's going to use here, the figure here, to divide instead of here. Okay? So this is why if you click on this formula, look at what happens there. Look at what happens there. The formula is using D10, which is correct, but it is divided by what? H11 instead of G11. Okay? Because that's the way the system has been programmed. So you have to say, no. I want you to divide all the denominators must be one number, which is G11. So that's why we are fixing. I hope you understood this concept. I hope you understood. Not a lot of people know this. Please take note of that. It's really, really important. Make the best use of this. Okay, so are we going to calculate it correctly? Okay, just like, was it useful? Who said it? Was it useful? Walk around. Okay, so we're going back. So we say equals C10 divided by G11, and we make it fixed. So we go to Fn, F4, we enter. Okay, and then we replicate. If we replicate nicely, what's going to happen is it's going to be replicated and it will be correct. Look at inside the formula. So you had the first one, you had what? C10 divided by G11. And when you move next, sorry, let me just. Okay, so and when you move next, okay, we move once, see the formula, you see D10 has moved once, but this remains the same. Why? Because you have asked it to be constant. Okay, to know that a cell reference is constant, it will be prefixed with what? $2 dollar sign before the column reference, which is a letter, and a dollar sign before row reference, which is a number. Okay, so this tells you that this particular cell has been fixed. Okay, is that clear, everyone? Have you learned something? For those of you who haven't known it before, have you?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Hadi Job, are you with us? Hadi? Have you learned anything new? Do you know this before? Hadi? You work at a bank. The bankers are very good at spreadsheet.
No, sir, I didn't. It's just today that I know.
It's just today. Good. Okay. The reason why I ask you is because you work at a bank and bankers are always very good at Excel. So if our banker doesn't know, well, maybe who else will know? But anyway, there are some people who already knows. Right. So, sorry, Hadi.
I said I'm just new.
Oh, you're new at the bank. Okay, fine. That's good. Yeah, that's all right. You learn a lot. So let's move. Right. So we got the material kg per unit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find our total kilos, total materials in kg. Okay. So we have our total. You can just say total kg. So to get our total kg, we need to take the sales unit multiplied by the material in kg per unit. Okay, we enter, so we just replicate. Okay, is that clear? Let me remove the 2 decimal places. So I just highlight everything and just adjust it once so that all the decimal places can disappear. And let me reduce it. Okay, so this is better so that we can all see it at a go. So I'm also going to do a bit of formatting. Okay, I'll just use this over here. I align it to the right. I make the background blue and the font white so that it can look a lot nicer. Then I have font size at 18. So I'm going to do something similar to the heading. I make it bold. I make it mild and I center it. And then I will change the color of the text to blue. Okay, good. So this is the way it's going to look like. And the headings or the names of the products, I'm going to make them bold. Okay, good. So now let's calculate our total materials. So we do a formula equals sum, bracket opens. Just highlight everything, bracket closes. So the total kg required. Okay, so this is the total material in kg required. So the total required is what? 15,000 kg. What is available?
What we have in available is 11,000 materials.
Okay, so total kg available. Total kg available is 11,000. Excellent. So we have a shortfall. We have a difference of 4,000, isn't it? So this is our shortage, and that tells us that we have a limiting factor. Okay, so that's the first step that we have done. Then now let's move on. Okay, let's move on. So far, so good. I hope this is clear to all of you. I hope this is clear to all of you.
Yes.
Okay, good. So just the first step, which is determining the extent of the limiting factor. Any questions, please, before we move? Yes.
Direct material cost per unit. The last two columns has changed. 7.5 and 12.5. I don't know why.
Oh, because yeah, because I had to call it. Let me just, because I took them to 1 DP, so I just come highlight them and just increase the DP. Okay, and let me just make it 1 DP. Happy now?
Yeah.
Good. So because I've highlighted everything and reduced their decimal point to 0, okay, but then this one should be in 1 DP. So I took them back to 1 DP. Okay. Right. So we've determined the shortfall. Now the next step is this procedure. The procedure on this question is going to be different from the one we did before, because the one we did before, what we did was we first determined the extent of the limiting factor. 2, we calculated the contribution per unit. And then 3, we calculated the contribution per scarce resource. And then we did the ranking, and our optimal production plan was based on that ranking. Okay, but this time around, our problem is we have products that we can make in-house, we have products that we can buy. That's why they gave us cost when we are making it in-house, and they gave us cost when we buy it from an outside. Now, so what we should do is first, let's determine which product do we buy from an outsider or which product do we make, in-house. So let's determine that. Okay, let's first determine that, and we'll see what's going to happen. So we know the material is the limiting factor, right? So the next step is the make or buy analysis. So just call it make or buy analysis. Right. So we're going to do a make or buy analysis. Right. So we want to analyze whether we're going to, which products to make and which products we're going to buy. So let's bring these headings here. Let's bring these headings here. So we're going to do that, and we replicate. Okay. So first, if we want to determine whether to make or buy, let's refresh. What do? We compare the variable cost of making to the variable cost of buying, isn't it? That's what we've been doing all along, isn't it? Yeah? Okay, so we bring VC of making, I just call it variable cost. VC of making. Okay. What are our variable cost of making? Can you give me, please? For W, X, Y, and Z? Variable cost of making?
17. 17.
Okay, 17. Uh-huh.
7.
7.
12.
12.
19.
And a 19. Excellent. Good. So what's the variable cost of buying or the purchase price? Variable cost of buying or purchase price?
It's been given to us. The cost of buy.
Given to us.
That's 20.
Yes. So give me what are they?
20.
20.
20.
11.
15.75.
15.75.
21.50. 50.
21.50. Okay. So we're going to make all this to 2 decimal places so that they don't behave like this. Good. So we have these prices. The buying prices are 20, 11, 15.75, and 21.5, whilst the making price are 17, 7, 12, and 19. So let's do our formula quickly. Can someone recap what conditional formula should be put here quickly? This is what you gave us the last time, yeah? So we say equals if, bracket open.
If
this
C18
is less than this,
C19,
C19,
comma, inverted brackets, make.
Okay. Make.
Comma.
Okay, good.
Inverted bracket.
After make,
comma.
After make close, inverted comma close, then you say comma,
And then inverted bracket open.
Okay.
And then we pay buy.
Buy. Excellent.
Inverted bracket close. And then you close the bracket.
Yes, okay, correct. Yeah. Yes. So we close the bracket. Correct. So we have make. Let's replicate it to all of them. Make. Okay. Good. So look at this situation. It's funny, isn't it? Yeah. Make or buy. But after doing our decision, it's giving us to make all of them. But come on, honestly, let's face it. Can you make all of them? Making means you produce them in-house. Can we produce all of them in-house? Can we?
No, because we already have a shortage of material.
There you go. We cannot produce them in-house because we have a shortage of material. Period. So if that is the case, what should we do? We cannot produce all of them in-house. We all agreed. Why? Because there is limiting factor. Material is in short supply, we've been told. So what is the next step that we can do?
We make the cheapest ones.
Huh?
We make the cheap ones.
Before you go there, the next step is we should make some and we produce some in-house. We should make some in-house and we produce the ones that we can produce in-house, and we make the ones that we can make from an outside. But you must put something into consideration. Whatever you do must maximize profit. You must advise optimal production plan. So in this situation, what will be the optimal production plan? If we have to buy, what do we buy? If we have to make, what do we make? Okay, let's put it this way. If we have to make, what do we make?
We have to rank
You
them
do,
based
you
on
do
the
the ranking.
contribution we are
You do the
putting them.
ranking,
Yes, before we do the
ranking.
ranking, but let's have an understanding, because if you do the ranking, people are confused. I don't want to go there and then people don't understand. But first, let's understand why are we doing the ranking? Okay, because this ranking is different from the previous questions ranking. You understand? Okay, so we are ranking here based on which product is more expensive. Which product is more expensive if we have to buy? We make those ones in-house. There are two options. We either make in-house or we buy. So if we have to make, in order to make the most profit, what do? We make the ones that is going to cost us more if we have to get them from an outside supplier. Is that not what is rational? You want to minimize costs, isn't it? You want to maximize profit. So if you want to do that, the ones that are going to cost you more to buy, you make those ones with the available materials. And then the ones that are going to cost you less, okay? The ones that are going to cost you more to buy, you will produce those ones. And the ones that are going to cost you less to buy, you buy those ones. Okay, so this is what exactly we're coming to do. So our ranking is going to be different from the previous ranking, right? So now what do we do to do our ranking? Our ranking will be, we're going to look at the two, the variable cost of making and the variable cost of buying. Okay, so we all agree our basis will be, we have to produce the ones that are more expensive to buy. So in order to do that ranking, we first have to find the difference between the buying and the making price. Okay, so we have to find the difference. So, and the difference will be called what? Extra cost of buying. So we call it extra cost of buying. The extra cost of buying. So how can we calculate our extra cost of buying per unit? The extra cost of buying per unit. Okay, how can we calculate our extra cost of buying per unit, please?
We check the difference between the variable cost of making and variable cost of buying.
I think we divide